And so it was the anniversary, as said Randy. This rebellious Caracas, this revolutionary Caracas, this indomitable Caracas, in which we are living an era, an intense era of transformations, of greatest transformations. Besides, we are in a time, in a week of greatest commemorations, historical commemorations for our country. Yesterday we commemorated the 242 years of the birth of our father Bolivar, the liberator, the liberator of America, of Latin America. Long live Bolivar, that have inspired our revolution ongide Commander Hugo Chavez, who was capable of rescuing him, of bringing Bolivar to the people, for with their thought, their action, and their history, to be able to make up the most fabulous movement that have ever met our Latin America at the end of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century. That's why we're very proud we are Bolivarians, and that's why we are very proud to be amid this socialist, humanist, and Bolivarian revolution. But also we are at the brink of celebrating a new epic elections amid blockade, sanctions, aggressions that have lasted over a decade and have been tightened up against our country. So that this electoral process, which will culminate despite being an electoral process of councils and mayors, which is the front line of the public power that is in the people. So it concludes an electoral cycle that try to be attacked, that they try to attack, they try to destroy by the darkest forces of the right, the darkest forces of imperialism, and the darkest forces of fascism. A cycle that precisely we are going to fulfill a year in the upcoming days, and many of you, over 570 partners of almost 80 nations that accompanies us. You will have the opportunity to watch, to live alongside our people and our president. So we are going to fulfill a year on July 28th of one of the most important days in our Bolivarian revolution. In these 26 years, we have gone through all kinds of situations, sabotages, coup d'etats, coups, blows on the oil sector, media manipulation, constant media manipulation. We have attempts on the president's life, and so we see right now the global conflicts, the global wars, and they have been using drones to destroy enemy positions. And so we must recall that almost the first case of the documented drone on warlike ends, on terrorist ends, occurred here in Venezuela, in almost 2-3 kilometers away from here in 2018. They tried to assassinate the President of the Republic, the high leadership, the high political and military leadership, ambassadors that were attending an act. And that was maybe the event, the most shameful incident that we have gone through in the latest years, and that it summarizes all evilness and bad feelings that political far-right Venezuelan wing has allied with the far-right of Latin America, Europe, and the United States. But we have gone through blockades, we have gone through frozen accounts, we have been robbed assets, we have been confiscated some goods, some properties, assets, and so we have been persecuted across the world. Countries that are boasting about being defenders of human rights, they have blocked us the access of vaccines during the COVID-19 pandemics. We have been blocked. They blocked us the access to medical instruments, equipment, and so they just said it openly from Europe, from the United States, from the resounding Lima group. They wanted to see us die. Thanks to the Bolivarian Revolution, thanks to the peoples of the world, thanks to the Federation of Russia, thanks to China and Turkey, we could overcome that situation. And not only overcome it and bear that situation, but everything that I am just telling you right now, these attacks have been permanent against the state of Venezuela and the people of Venezuela, but we haven't kneeled down 1 millimeter. We haven't stepped back in any time, but these circumstances have made us greatest and strongest, with the leadership of the consolidated President Nicolás Maduro, who has been paving the way of our revolution, of our government, and we have been advancing in the construction of prosperity in all fronts. Since 2018, when we launched the program of economic recovery and prosperity, the President Maduro and we all political leaders, officials, we have managed to advance in our economy, and there has been an economic growth that over 17 quarters we have been growing our GDP, and we have recovered our oil industry with our own effort, since we are just blocked to access the international financing. We have been recovering our food industry. We have been developing the agricultural miracle, which has been the most important in our continent in the latest years. And we have been able to supply our people that was denied by the hegemony, and so that resistance, transforming offensive and victory, allow us to call this great summit, and allow us to offer our space, our land, our homeland, our political force to all peoples of the world, to demand, to urge leaders of the world, to urge greatest powers, mid powers, that it is necessary to initiate a truthful process of peace. Peace with justice, as it is the Bolivarian peace. And we celebrated yesterday its birth anniversary, and we said it. Bolivar was the first thinker of referring to peace. amid a struggle for the liberation, we've heard the words of partner of the Youth of Liberation of Mozambique that 50 years ago managed to liberate from the colonies, from the European colonies, and we lived through it over 200 years ago, as Palestine will manage to win over colonialism, because the destiny of peoples is liberty, freedom, sovereignty. So he was the thinker that started to say that the only way to find peace is with justice. And today this Summit of the Peoples is a summit for peace and for justice. And not the justice, that justice that said to that international entities boasted about, which is very comfortable and on the interests of the greatest powers. But this justice is the popular justice, is the justice of the peoples, of the truth, of the real liberation. And Caracas and Venezuela, that's the space. From here, we shout to the world, to the global world, to the global peoples, that we must construct that course for that route for peace. Today, with the global imperialism, that exists today, and attacks Palestine, we have heard dramatic addresses about the situation in Palestine, a situation that didn't begin on October 7, 2023. Dear ambassador, dear partner, a situation that started in 1948 with the expulsion of over 700,000 Palestinians from their lands, with the creation of a military enclave, Zionist enclave, and that for over 77 years has been annihilating a whole people that denies to die, that resists, and that wins, because we are certain that Palestine will win, and these eyes, this generation will see a free Palestine, a prosperous Palestine, a sovereign Palestine, as it has been during millennia, because Palestine is a millennial people, and these 78 years are not gonna undermine a millennial people capable of building wisdom, prosperity, justice, and peace. And imperialism launches against it, and it poses as a great challenge, as President Maduro said. Palestine is the cause of humanity. It's not a regional cause. Palestine is not a religious predicament. It's a humane cause of justice, of sovereignty, of freedom, of right, and even of the international right and the international justice, as we know in the multilateral world, in the United Nations world. It's a fair cause, whatever you look at it. And it is the pain, the grief, and the inflection point of the birth of a new era. In Palestine, we are just seeing the fate of humanity. That's why we are sure that we are going to win. And sooner than later, we are gonna see the Palestinian children walk, play, run, and grow in their territory. But also imperialism is capable of making up threats to maintain fictitious tension in this backsliding moment, as my partners said, and they just invent, as they invented in the 1950s after the Second World War, and so they invented the threat of communism, and they right now are inventing new threats. In Europe, they talk about Islamism, and they persecute the Islamist peoples for their beliefs. In the Americas, they persecute migrants, and in the America. And so fascism has invented two menaces: fascism as an expression of imperialism for damaging the global peoples, to undermine, to subdue the peoples of the world. Communism is not the great menace, because it was already demonstrated that communism is not a threat. And so now it is Islam, it is migrants, the threats of the peoples, the threats to that decaying, declining West, that West without knowledge, without intellectual support. And so it is our turn in that call to peace to defend the rights of the peoples of the world, to defend the rights of the migrants, the rights of all the beliefs of the world. We have partners, a paramount and beautiful task. And when we are summoned to this summit, we must mull over which is the knowledge, which is the gains of this encounter we have here. So we dare to suggest in this summit that it is necessary to accelerate the organization of all social movements, political movements, of the different revolutionary trends, of the different progressive trends, of the defenders of the environment, of the rights of women, migrants, the rights of the different minority collectives, of all communities. We must create a great front that allow us to arrange and to organize and confront this battle and win this battle. That's our responsibility today. The diagnosis, we already have it. The reality is in front of us. We are living through it constantly. We have analyzed it, we have studied, and we are just protagonists in many cases and victims in other cases. And when President Nicolás Maduro Moros proposes holding a large summit in favor of peace against war, for the right of the Palestinian people, for the right of all peoples of the world to be free and sovereign and have self-determination. It is our responsibility as a social movement, as a political movement, as collective organizations to push in the making of this summit, as well as those Latin American social movements defeated the ALCA at their moment, because there weren't the governments who defeated the ALCA. The origin came from the summon that that made those greatest leaders as Hugo Chavez and Fidel Castro, who urged the peoples of the world to mobilize. We can never forget Commander Chavez in Canada. He, by himself, against all countries of the Americas, with the exception of Cuba, and summoned the peoples of the world. And we were alone by that time as a government, but not as a people. Long live Chavez. And we achieved to conduct a battle, and in less than 10 years, we were just burying that colonial project named ALCA, and then emerged ALBA, and movements emerged, and we get greatest accomplishments and breakthroughs, protecting rights, conquering new rights. Let's evoke that spirit, because we've got the strength. Today we've got the strength in the peoples of the world. We are not in plain resistance. We must be on the offensive, and we tell you this in Venezuela, as we have been just living these victories, and we can receive those triumphs that we can receive. So I want to conclude my speech of this opening of this Summit for Peace and Against War. I want to read all delegations that accompany us. Almost 80 countries are with us here. Especially we've got the flag of Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala, Cuba, Peru, Uruguay, Chile, Paraguay, Colombia, Argentina, and special greetings to the mothers and grandmothers of the Plaza de Mayo. I ask a great special applaud, and which is a referral to the offensive that the global peoples must hold, and the victories we have to get. Bolivia, Huipala is over there too, Costa Rica, well, Namibia, Ecuador, Iran, the Sandinist Front of National Liberation, Warm Hugs Partners, Colombia, Humane, all movements that are here with us, Brazil, Morera is here, all of them. We've got Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and the from the Western Asia, Eurasia, Europe, Latin America, Africa, Portugal. Well, if I name them all, I don't end the discourse, the speech. And so the Federation of Russia. So I want to commend you and congratulate me and encourage you that this summit turn out to be in the organization, in the biggest organization, at an upper level of organization that we already have, to be able to go to the struggles, to the beautiful struggles and beautiful wings that expect us as free peoples of the world. Big hearts.
Yvan Gil also is taking place during the installation of the People's Summit that is taking place in the capital of Venezuela to refer to assess the made a call for the peace of the world, and also an end for the genocide that is taking place in Palestine. The minister also referred to the legacy of Simon Bolivar, also referred to the legacy of Commander Hugo Chavez, who inherited this legacy also of Simon Bolivar, and all of their example, their legacy is moving Venezuela forward for the struggle of the peoples of the world. Let's listen.
Long live Bolivar, long live Chavez, long live Nicolás Maduro.
We were live to Caracas. We were listening to Foreign Affairs Minister Yvan Gil during the installation of the People's Summit. In his remarks, Gil honored Liberator Simon Bolivar, remembered also the legacy of Commander Chavez, referred to the epic municipal elections that will take place next Sunday, July 27th, that will also mark 1 year from one of the most important states in Venezuela's democratic process. Gil also mentioned the right to Palestine to be free, to be sovereign, and for the world to unite for justice, to demand an end of the genocide in Gaza against the people of Palestine. This is all for the moment, but stay tuned with teleSUR English for more.